Check. Check. All right, Jason, can you guys hear me? Doesn't look like I have a viewer. Jason, are you guys on? Okay, I'm going to jump in assuming that we're good to go. And I will be, here we go. Now we've got a viewer. Hi, guys. My name's Nate Kellogg. I'm the Director of Personalized Learning for Renew Schools here in New Orleans. We have 7 schools in the surrounding area. And so I oversee our implementation with technology. So we have about 3,000 Chromebooks for our students, and so we use a lot of technology. And yeah, so anyways, I'm also a Google certified trainer, which is why I'm here to do this. And I also am from New England. So I'm usually up there, but unfortunately down here in this heat. So today what we're going to be looking at is Doctopus, which is a script that you can use with, or an add-on now that you can use with Google Docs to be able to share documents with your students in a way that's really efficient and also super organized. And we're going to walk through it. It's going to take a little while. This one might feel a little bit frustrating, but also we'll hopefully show you that if you do have the steps down, then it can take about 4 or 5 minutes before a class period to actually have everything set up and rolling with your students. Before we jump in, what I do want to make sure we do is go over why maybe this would be the right session for you. And so I'm going to quickly screen share for you my screen, and I hope you can see this large format. If it's not big enough, please let me know. Before I talk about what I'd like to see from you in terms of signing in, I want to make sure we're all on the same page for what this session is like and who it's for. So Doctopus in the paperless classroom. This is going to be a session that's really geared towards people who are pretty tech savvy. Now that said, if you're someone who is tech willing, that's a great thing. That means you can probably figure it out with us. But if you're someone who's not feeling like you're in a place, maybe you've been through a lot of sessions today already and you're not in a place to really focus on the nitty gritty details and working through that, then maybe this isn't the best thing for you. But certainly welcome anybody who feels like they're ready for it to jump in. We're also going to do sort of a play along model. It's not going to be ideal because it's a little hard to make sure that you have, because you're not going to have as many email addresses of people around you to do this. But I do want you to try it while we're doing it, which is why this will take the full hour to do it. And also just to keep in mind, this session is always going to be here at this link. So whenever you need to go back to the directions or don't understand how to do something, that you want to go back to this link, it'll walk you through it again. You don't need me to be there to do that. A couple norms with this session, just to make sure we're on the same page. These are the 3 things I say to teachers every session I do. Be critical about this. Don't think it's going to be, the golden bullet for you, but also be open when there are frustrations. Try to look for how you think it can work in your classroom and how you can make it work. Second thing, being okay with struggle, that if it's not easy at first, we have to remember that maybe this is going to take a little bit of time, and that's okay, and that we'll have to get used to it, but that we can, because I assure you really can. That's something you'll feel comfortable with. And last but not least, do one thing well. So if you're taking anything away from today, just focus on getting one thing that you feel like, great, I'm going to do this and I'm really excited about it. If that happens to be how to roll out Doctopus or maybe a specific part of it, that's awesome. Whatever that is, just finding one thing that you're ready to take back to your classroom. So with that said, if you feel like you're going to stick around for this one, which I hope you do, certainly, I'd like us to go to the following. This is our sign-in page, so I can know who you are and what your experience is. The second one is the link to our session. And the third one is the back channel link. So that's going to allow us to have conversations, since I can't actually hear you guys, which is really weird, is that I want to be able to hear from you, at least through text. So the today's meet on the bottom will allow me to hear from you. So I'll let you guys go ahead and complete that form right now. And many thanks to Jason for helping me out here. Jason, I watched you speak at the last one, but we haven't talked very much before. So thank you very much for your help today. I greatly appreciate it. And just waiting on a couple more people to finish up those surveys. We've got 2 responses here. Thank you, Mike and Jeff. It looks like we've got all 4 here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys real quickly, in case you're Google Forms users or not. This is a Google form that I just gave you. The reason I use it, I can get a really quick idea of what the room is like. Again, this is really weird because I'm not there to actually see you guys and interact with you and kind of gauge the room. This kind of gives me a quick idea of where we are. So looking at this, how paperless is your classroom? We've got a big chunk of us are saying somewhat paperless. Another big chunk are saying very paperless, that's awesome. And then one saying not paperless. So we kind of have a range, which is good to know. In terms of how we use Google Docs, it looks like we're kind of all over the place. The biggest one is all the time. So there's a big chunk of us, 2 of you are using it for everything. And then we're kind of spread out below that. Familiarity with Google Classroom. We've got, most people have heard about it at least, and everybody else has used it a bit, which is awesome. So if you use Classroom, that's really great. And I love seeing this. Okay, so people don't even know Doctopus or Google. That's really exciting for me. Before I continue, one thing I do want to share. Google Classroom is an excellent tool to be using in your classroom if you feel like Doctopus ends up being something that's a little too cumbersome for you or a little bit too much work. Doctopus is a more advanced version of Google Classroom. It doesn't have all the same features, but in terms of what Doctopus does, it basically tries to do what it did before Classroom, but it does what Google Classroom does to share documents in a way that's very advanced. So if you're thinking this is too much, Classrooms are really good in between. I highly encourage teachers to use it. And then you can use Doctopus and even this rubric with that if you'd like to as well. So with that said, I'm going to jump in. I'm still checking the today's meet on my other screen here so I can know if there are any questions. So just let me know if anything comes up. Please interrupt me or let me know that something's not working. This document is where we have everything, again, that I said in terms of what we're going to learn today. So this agenda, you can click on any item. It'll take you to that part of the document where that is. And this walks you through the whole setup for how to do Doctopus. I'm not going to be showing you this document because it's there for you to refer to and for me as well. But this is just a base for you to come back to be able to see how to do this, basically. So to start out, and let me scroll from our beginnings. Why do we use these add-ons? Basically, they're going to save us a lot of time. They're going to make our life a lot more organized in Google Docs. And it's going to end up saving not only our own time on our end, but also for students in terms of their ability to find documents immediately and have them prepared for us the way that we want them. We don't need to worry about scripts and add-ons and all that. Under this part, you can see it says there's a how-to video, which is really helpful. And also some background on the latest version. I also highly recommend, if you're on Google+, to check out the Google+ Doctopus community. Andrew Stillman is the person who created Doctopus. He's brilliant. And he has written all these scripts out of New York City public schools and is just doing really amazing things. He works for an organization called Cloud Lab. New Visions for New Schools, Cloud Lab in New York, and they're just producing great things. But the Google Plus community specifically is a place where you can post questions and say, hey, is there a way to do this? Or can somebody help me with this problem? Or, hey, here's a feature we would love to have, which Andrew always responds to. Here he is posting about a new part of the rubric idea that's pretty impressive as well. So this is a great place to get help and also to learn more about Doctopus. And with that, let's jump in. So Doctopus is an add-on for Google Sheets. So if you're following along with me, you're going to be doing this with me. If that's gets frustrating, feel free to just pay attention and take notes and whatnot. But if you want to try it out, definitely jump in with us. I'm going to create a new spreadsheet to start to do this Doctopus. Because Doctopus, as I said, is an add-on for Sheets. We always want to start in a spreadsheet. So I'm going to click add-ons here, and I actually already have Doctopus, but if you did not, you could click get add-ons, and that would add Doctopus to your spreadsheet. So add-ons, and then once it comes in, if you're with me, I'm going to click launch, and it's going to pop up on this right side over here for me to work with. Okay. Before I go any further, I'm actually going to name the spreadsheet just because I want to make sure I know what this is and where it's coming from. It's also going to pull that name into the document for me if I want it to, so it'll be easier to use if I've named this correctly. In this case, I'm going to be giving you guys a quiz on Deflategate. So I'm going to say Deflategate quiz, and then let's see, GAFE peak, so I know where it's from, just for right now. So I've named it. Name it what you want. First step is selecting a roster. Now you notice that when I do this, I actually have a couple rosters already here. If you are in your Google Apps for Education domain, there will be another option below these that says ingest from Google Classroom. And that's a way that you can actually pull an assignment that students have already turned in and have it take it into your Doctopus, which is really a good way to get to the rubric, which I'll hopefully show you at the end, but we're not there yet. But the point is that I need to create a roster. And for me, if I don't have my roster here correctly, then I need to create it. This step, normally, you're just going to choose a roster and move through. The first time you do it, you do have to take all these steps to set up a new roster. So for me, I want to build a new roster. And what I'm going to do is build it on this sheet here. If I use G-class folders, which is people are stopping using because Doctopus does what G-class folders does. But if you are someone who does use G-class folders, you can use that, use a roster from that. And also, if you're an organization that uses Hapara Teacher Dashboard, you can actually import your students from the Hapara Teacher Dashboard. But in this case, I'm just going to say I want to do it on this sheet right here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click Create Roster. It's going to tell me that I need the first and last name and their email. And I'm actually going to get this information for, in our case, I'm actually going to do this with you all. I'm going to get the information from my survey that I gave you. So this is our group here. People filled out, the 5 people who are part of this. I'm actually going to use another add-on right now because notice these names are not in first and last. I'm going to use an add-on called Split Names, which is pretty helpful, especially in this case, where it's going to say, I want to have a first name and a last name column. Split. Boom. Now I got all your first names, last names, and emails. Looking back at what it's asking me for, it still says first name, last name, email, so I can get that exact thing from here. First name, last name, copy. Again, I'm just literally entering email addresses and names. If you have a spreadsheet with all your students, your whole roster in it, you can do this as well. So now I've got first name, last name, email. When I refresh this, it's going to check to see that all these are valid and that I didn't leave out any names, that all the email addresses are actually real email addresses. If I had an issue, it would highlight it in yellow and it wouldn't let me move forward. So before I make any mistakes, it's going to stop me, which is nice. So I'm going to name this for this year GAFE, Week 2015. And there's an option below that. You see where it says Create Class Folders. This is something I highly recommend doing if you're using Doctopus. If you're using Classroom, it will create folders for you. Doctopus will create these folders that you're going to be using all year. And this is where I told you a minute ago about G-class folders, which is a way of creating these folders. You don't need to use G-class folders anymore because Doctopus is now doing it. And basically what it's going to do, and it's showing you on the bottom here what the folders will look like. It's going to make 4 different folders for you. And I'm not going to do the example just because we don't have enough time to have them create the folders, but it'll do this for you if at the start of the year, which I highly recommend again. The first folder is just a teacher folder. You can keep documents in there. It will be where all of your final copies go. So when you distribute documents to students, all those will show up in the teacher folder. The class edit folder is going to be for if you want to put something that anybody in the class can edit all at once, you can put it in there. So for example, if you have a folder for turning in a project and you told the kids, hey, you got to make a presentation on this, whatever, I just want you to turn it in, anybody can drop their project into the class edit folder and have it be there. Class view means that the class can view anything in that folder, but you are the only person who can edit it. So if I have directions for a lab, I don't want them to mess up my directions. I know they're going to make a mistake and delete something by accident or on purpose. I don't want them messing it up, but I want them to be able to see it. If I drop it into class view, they can all see it. I'm the only one that can edit it. It also means that if I'm like, whoops, I made a mistake on the date on the lab when it's due, if I make that change in the Google Doc, we know that it's going to make that change for all of them as well. They'll see that change immediately, which is great. So you don't have to run off another 30 copies for your kids of like, oh, whoops, the directions were wrong. Instead, you just made the change and they know they're going to get it in there in class view. This was one of the only things I got some of our older teachers to jump on. They loved having class view because they know anything they drop in there, everybody in the class can see it. There's no excuses. It's really easy. It avoids making copies and wasting paper. And anytime they make edits, they're going to show up there. So a lot of our teachers love that. The final folder it's going to have here is called Students. And this is where it's going to create actually an individual student folder for each of your students. So for example, for me here, we've got Jeff, Mike, Kate, they're showing me the examples. That folder is going to be owned by me, but it's also going to be edited by Jeff. So Jeff and I have ownership or have editing rights over it. I technically own it, so I'm the only one that can delete it or get rid of it. But anything Jeff puts in there, I can see and I can edit. So they know if I need to turn something in, if I need to make sure you can see it, I can put it in that folder. Everyone's going to see it. So these folders are really, really, really helpful. And notice it's also organized. So when I open GAFE Peak 2015, it'll have a alphabetical list for me to use, which is pretty sweet. So I can access their folders right away. So in this case, I'm actually not going to create class folders because that would take too long. So I don't want to do that right now. One other reason to do it, though, just to let you know, those student folders are where the files are going to end up. So if I share a document through Doctopus, those files, I can have them show up in their specific folder for my class, as opposed to just being generally in my drive for them, which would be tough for them to move and find and organize and all that. So creating class folders is great. We're not going to do it for the sake of time, though. So save and continue. I'm still checking today's meet to make sure you guys are with me. I know I'm moving a little quickly here, so you can always tell me to slow down. And this step, what we just did all that time, if I had just chosen the one roster that I wanted to work with today, I wouldn't have to do any of that work. So all the work of setting this up is usually a step that you'll never have to do. All that time, you never have to do that. Usually you just skip right to this step right here once you've chosen your roster. So the first thing I need to figure out with my assignment here is, how am I going to share it? Like, what do I want to have happen? And just to show you so you can see what I'm talking about, I've made this quiz for you today. I have a document. I would normally photocopy this, right? I would take this, I go to the copier, make 30 copies, pass them out to you, okay? It's simple. It has some questions for you to answer. There's Tom spiking the ball. If I go back to this, what I'm deciding is, how do I want this shared with the class? Do I want each kid to have their own copy? Do I want certain groups of kids to have different copies? Do I want certain groups to have a copy so they can work as groups? That's what I'm trying to decide. So you can see these options here: individual, all the same. That's the one you're normally going to, because it just means make a copy for each kid. Differentiated would mean I would have to have multiple copies, and I could tell Doctopus which group you're in, and therefore which group got which document. And lastly, with project groups, then I could say, if I've grouped the kids, and I can say, well, here's your quiz, and all 4 of you are working on that quiz at the same time. It only made 1 copy for that group specifically. So again, normally individual, all the same, and I'm ready to move. I hope we're good. Taking a breath. All right. Next option, these options for the most part, I'm not going to touch. So normally I'm going to choose individual, all the same, and I'm not going to touch the rest on this little screen here. Whole class access level, this is basically me saying I don't want other students editing each other's work. Right now, I don't want that to happen. I want them to not have access to each other's. Assigned student access level, I want each kid to edit their own work. So they're going to be allowed to edit. If I have a document that I only want them to look at for some reason, or if I want them to be able to comment on it but not edit it, I can choose that if I want to. This checkbox is one that normally I would leave checked. The idea behind this is that it's saying that if I share this with Jeff, he's not going to be able to then knock me off the document or make the document public for everyone in the world to see. If I want Jeff to be able to peer edit with this document, I might want to uncheck this so that he could share it with somebody else. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you want them to end up saying like, oh, I'm going to add my friend Mike on this one, so Mike's going to be able to edit it, to be able to peer edit, then you do want to uncheck this so you don't have to be the one who's adding all those students as collaborators. Deliver to student folders. Normally this will automatically be checked because it knows you created folders and it knows where they're going to go. In our example, we haven't done that, so we're not going to check that box because we don't have folders we'd like to deliver it to. And so then this is also the interesting part. If you're in a co-teaching relationship, you have other teachers that are going to need to look at this. It's going to automatically pull their names based on the sharing of the file that you're working with. So in this case, this spreadsheet I've shared with my old Trinity account, which actually doesn't work. I've shared with my new Renew account. I've shared it with Eric. I've shared it with my training domain account. So all of these accounts are actually co-teachers that can access it, and I can add more if I want to. So it automatically pulled those because those people have access to this document. Still seeing no questions right now on today's meet, so gonna keep pushing through. I'd say you guys are doing great, but I don't know. Are we doing all right in the room? I hope. Again, this is weird. Okay. Step 4, choose the template. Step 4 means I need to find this, my quiz. Where is it? This is one of the only weird things I think about Doctopus that Andrew seems to be stuck with. I need to find the folder that document exists in first before I can choose the document, which I know sounds like it might make sense, but you'll see this is a little weird. It's asking me right here, folder holding assignment template. So what is the folder? I need to find the folder that this is in. Now, I know that this is in my Doctopus folder within GAFE, so I'm going to try to find that. Awesome. Thank you, Jason and Kate, telling me that we're looking good right now. That's helpful. Thank you, guys. So choosing folder. I'm actually going to search. This will help me out. I'm going to search GAFE 2015 because I know this folder is within this one. So I'm going to double click on that. But now I need to choose the Doctopus folder. And I know that the document is in this folder, so I need to select the folder because the document is in there. Again, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense, but we have to do it. So I'm going to select that folder. And then Doctopus is going to say, okay, well, which of the documents in this folder do you want to use? And in this case, I'm going to look at this, select it, and I'm going to say the document that says, let's see, it's a document, Deflategate quiz. There we go. And notice it's telling me that there are spreadsheets and other documents, so I have an idea of what I'm looking at. And I'm going to choose that. So I've chosen the folder where this exists, and now I've chosen the quiz. That's my template that they're going to make copies of. Save and continue. All right. Step 5, file and notification settings. Make this a little bigger for you, sorry. Okay. My assignment folder, this is where Doctopus, this is the reason you use Doctopus. If I just share a document with the kids, or if I just wanted to give you guys a link and you made copies of the quiz, I don't know where they'd be. They'd be all over the place in my drive. They'd be shared with me. Maybe you just emailed me a link. I don't know how I got it from you. What this is going to do is it's going to create one folder where all of your documents will be for this one assignment, which is really helpful because then I can look at it in alphabetical order. It's like having my manila folder with all this one assignment in the same exact place, which is super helpful for the grading side. So in this case, it actually, and this is what it normally does and why I had you name the document correctly, this will automatically create a folder if I want it to, and it names it by the class first, GAFE 2015, then by the assignment, Deflategate quiz, which I can actually delete. I don't need GAFE twice, but Deflategate quiz. So name of class, name of assignment, and then date. And I usually use this exact way because I find that to be really helpful finding assignments. I have, 100 of these in my drive. If I can easily see based on the class, based on the assignment, and based on the date what it is, it's really easy to find. So I'm going to say create new folder. There used to be an octopus that would dance while this was happening, which the really nerdy teachers kind of got angry at Andrew about because now it's just that spinning wheel. Anyways, so now it's made my assignment folder, it was made in my drive. So I'm gonna actually have to move that to make it a little easier, but it's there so I can have it. And now I can name the file. And so it says, how do you want to name the student files? In this case, it's going to name them last name, first name, assignment name, class. Oops, not assignment, not class, sorry, assignment name. Last name, first name, assignment name. So for me, if I would actually change this around and usually do class name, assignment name, last name, but you can leave it like this. Either way, it means that it's going to actually put the student's name on the document for you automatically, which is awesome. And then here, if I want to send a notification, if I want them to get an email that says that I've shared this with them, I could do that. In this case, I'm not going to do that to bother you, but I could have it send you an email saying, hey guys, here's the assignment. So I'm going to say save and continue. And notice it's populating the spreadsheet with a bunch of information here because it's going to be pulling this for me when it shares it. And this last step is just to double check. So are you good to go? Are you ready to run it? And, you know, quick check over it. I know I want to have Newt 5 because there are 5 students, individual all the same. I know I want them to edit it. Got that, got that. Yep, it's the right quiz. Okay. Seems like I'm ready to run it. When I click run copy, it's going to keep me updated how many have been shared. This is the kind of thing where you hit it and just, you know, set it and forget it kind of thing. You know, go about your business and come back and check on it. For us, I'm hoping that this will be done quickly because we only have 5 people, but you never know. Sometimes it takes a little while. Typically, and you can see it's already populating right now. So it's already showing me that 2 people have had their documents created. Typically, this would take maybe upwards of 10 minutes to run for a class of 30 students for me, at most, if the internet's slow. So it's not something you can really do right at the start of class, but you can do that morning and just do it and not worry about it. Again, this process, even though it seems like it's taken a long time, it's taken us almost half an hour now. It is so quick normally that I used it almost every day in my class. My wife uses it every single day with her class. Just because it's really easy to share documents. So again, boom, now we're done. All 5 documents have been shared. So looking at this, I can see the link to each document. It's telling me right now, and this is why one of the cool things about Doctopus, when you last edited the document, because you haven't touched them yet, so it doesn't say anything. And even the file name and file key if I need that. I can also find all of these in my drive. So I'm going to go back to my drive here. And I can see, or at least I should, if I refresh the page, I should see the folder. Here it is, GAFE Peak 2015 Deflategate Quiz 826. And if I open this, it's going to have all of your files in alphabetical order. Ooh, it looks like I made 2 for Kate. Does that mean we actually have 4 people? I didn't even look at the roster. Is that right? Yes, Kate, you're in there twice. Hilarious. Okay. So Kate gets 2. So we've got in alphabetical order, I can see each of your documents and I can pull up, for example, I'll pull up Jeff's right now and see if Jeff is working on this quiz. Uh-oh, what's this one called? Copy of Deflategate Quiz. Seems like it's having a problem right now. If you can go on yours to see, I don't know why it's naming it copy of Deflategate. It might not have updated. If you can go on the document, see if it shows up for you. Maybe I'll try one more to see it. Let's see if Mike's works. And if you guys can try to find this document in your own drive, that would be cool. Let me just double check I haven't made a mistake here. Let's see if this might be one of my issues, and I'm going to double check before I keep moving. So at the bottom here, it says manage and assess this assignment. So I'm going to click that button. That might say, okay, good, we're done. I'm not sure. Good question, Kate. How do we get to the document? Can't find the quiz. Uh-oh, okay. So we should be able to find it. So for you, normally you'd find it in that folder, but we didn't create those folders. So in this case, you're not going to find it in your folders. What you should find it in is either my drive, and I'm not sure we can find out. I'd like you guys to let me know. Either you'll find it just generally in my drive, sitting in my drive, or under shared with me. And I appreciate you guys commenting in today's meet so I can know that you're not finding it. Let me know if you find it there. Otherwise, you can call me a liar and I made all this up. It looks like something might have gone wrong here because I've never seen it do this where it names it as a copy. This is clearly not shared with anybody. Oh, now it is. Okay, so this says it's shared with all the people it's, well, let's see if it's supposed to be. Yep, Jeff, this is Jeff's. Jeff, it looks like it's named copy of Deflategate Quiz for some reason. It seems like it might be updating. I don't know, because when I opened it, it came from your name. But try to search for that. One way to search for this, by the way, generally speaking, searching your drive is a great thing. You can search by type. So for example, if I want to say type is a document, I can search that, or is starred, or that the owner is, for example, if you put my email in there, you'd be able to find any document that I own. In this case, it made only documents that I've starred that I created, which is kind of cool. Okay, looks like you're finding them under shared with me. Good. Okay, so let me open up here and see if we've got Jeff. I don't see you on here. Where's Jeff? Let's see. Let me see another one. Let's see if Mike's working on his right now. Oh yeah, there. So I can see right now, oh, you can get a picture of you, Mike. This is great. So I can see right here, Mike's working. Nice, great answer. I love it. So I'm looking at it now. Again, this is a different way to do this than Classroom. If we were in Classroom, Mike would be answering these questions, and he'd have to turn this in before I can look at it. So I can edit this in the middle. Jeff, seems like you're still having an issue here. Jeff, try to search for this specific name, even just typing the words Deflategate. It looks like it's shared with your, and make sure you're in the same email. It says jbarry@York Schools. If that is not your email, then that might be why as well. I want to make sure you guys get to see this. Let me open up one of Kate's, see if she's in one of these too, while we're waiting for Jeff to get to work. No go on the search. Okay. That's odd. Let me see if I can reshare it. Oh, now it just showed up. Good. So, and this is a good example. I'm actually, I guess this is kind of helpful to see another reason why to wait to send this out, or sorry, not to wait to send this out till right before class, because it can take time for students to have them show up. So I'm glad it showed up. That's obviously very good. So here's Jeff. He's answering his. We're good to go. Okay. So we're done sending out the documents. If you have a question about how to send out, go ahead and post that in today's meet. I know we move through this pretty quickly, actually. Usually this takes a lot longer because people have questions throughout. Either you guys are just amazing at it, or you were ignoring the questions, since this is a weird situation with Hangout. But if there are any questions, to pause us, please post your questions now before we keep moving through. And what I'll show you next when we're ready is how to attach a rubric, which is something that will make your grading of this work super, super efficient. We'll see that in just a second. One other thing I can show you as well, I'll go back to our spreadsheet. Again, notice I keep referring back to the spreadsheet. I just want to see if Matt's working on his or not. Oh, Matt, no answers here. Just kidding. I'm not going to hold you accountable, Matt. If I go back to the spreadsheet, this is where, again, all that information is. One thing I can do, since notice it says there are no edits, and we know for a fact that, for example, Mike edited his for sure. If I click refresh edits, it's going to add up when the last time was that that Mike actually made an edit. And also notice that it's adding these other columns. These are super cool. One of my favorite things about Doctopus too. So here it's showing that one of Kate's documents she didn't work on and that Matt has not yet worked. But take a look at these options here. So I can see, based on the information here, word count, so how many words you've added, revisions, so how many times you've actually gone in to make changes, teacher comments, which would be the number of comments I've made, student comments, which means as it's showing me as I hover over these, resolved or unresolved comments and replies by the student who's working on it. So in Jeff's case, it would be Jeff, how many times Jeff commented. Oops. Peer comments, comments by other students. So if other students had commented on their work. Resolved comments, how many comments were resolved from this? Oh, Matt's not here. Sorry for calling you out, Matt. Peer files commented on. This is a great way to see, hey, did Jeff actually give some peer-to-peer support here, or did he just not make any comments? Because it's going to check all the other documents to see, did Jeff make a comment, and then tell me how many comments he made right here. So that's a pretty cool way to actually keep track of all that. Before I move on, we got one quick question from Jason here. Do you generally send out email notifications to students for homework assignments and quizzes? My normal sort of workflow for that was to post assignments on Edmodo. We used Edmodo last year because Classroom we didn't feel was meeting our needs enough at the time. And I now have moved out of the Classroom, but if I were teaching again this year, I would definitely be using Classroom. I believe that Classroom is the easiest way right now to be able to communicate assignments, keep track of them in terms of who's turned them in or not, and also at the same time still be able to use all the functionality of Doctopus because I can use Doctopus with it. But it also, on the student side, Classroom is a really clear, easy way to see for them, what do I have due when? And they actually just released some functionality so that Classroom works with your Google Calendar as well, so they can see when things are due on a Google Calendar, which I think is fantastic. So no, I don't usually send out email notifications because I was working with middle schoolers, so they weren't checking their email very much. But if I was in high school, I definitely would have. But in this case, Edmodo, Google Classroom were great ways to communicate assignments, excuse me, and due dates to kids. So good question there, Jason. Keep posting questions as we go. I'm going to keep moving with the interest of showing you Gubrick since we have time. We've got about a little more than 15 minutes left. I believe at least. So we'll keep moving. So what Gubrick will do, Gubrick is a way to add a rubric on top of your documents here. So with this assignment, I can add a Gubrick to it. If I had assigned this in Google Classroom, I could basically just skip to this step of attaching the Gubrick, which is pretty easy to do, and just say, hey, I just want to attach a Gubrick. I don't want to deal with Doctopus and choosing how I want to share it because I already did that in Classroom, which is cool. So a Gubrick kind of works with Classroom almost as well as it works with Doctopus. I had a teacher that told me the other day that she can't imagine teaching writing ever again without Gubrick. That this is the easiest thing for her to grade on scale, the number of essays she has to grade. And I'll show you why. So for this example, I'm going to click Attach Gubrick. And what it's going to ask me for is, what is your spreadsheet that you're going to use to grade this assignment? So I'll show you the example spreadsheet that I have. Go back to my folder that I had it in, try to find that. Whoops, this is a waste. Well, I can just open it up for you. Gubrick. So the spreadsheet style that a Gubrick works with is pretty simple. It just has to be a simple rubric with numbers on the top going across, and then the sections or categories on the left side going down. So in this case, you can see it's 1 through 7, or at least 1 through 6. That's what it looks like. And then here's ideas, and it gives a little bit of text to explain the different values of the rubric for ideas. I just copied and pasted this from some other rubric that I found online. So ideas, structure, organization, language, all that kind of stuff, all rated on a 1 through 6 scale. This is all I need to have for a Gubrick. So going back to my spreadsheet with Gubrick, it actually notices that I've used this Gubrick example before. I showed this to teachers last night, so I can easily click on it and attach it. One great feature that they just added, which was what Andrew Stillman was posting in the Google Plus community, was this additional area called libraries. Libraries are great if you are, for example, with our schools at Renew, I've got about 400 teachers across the network. We have a few common rubrics that a lot of writing teachers will use. So I can create a library of those rubrics that any teacher can access from Gubrick without having to find it or keep a copy of it or wonder what it's called. They can go to libraries, click on the Renew library and choose their rubric, and they're off to the races. You can also browse the published libraries that already exist. And in this case, it's going to take me to another page about it so I can see, but I could add these specific rubric sets to my Gubrick add-on, which is super helpful for teachers, again, who might think, well, I don't want to deal with it. I don't know where it is. Well, here it is. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to name it. You don't have to know what it's called. Just find it in libraries. It's right there. And for me, I already use this, so it's easy to click on and attach. And this is taking longer than it normally does. Okay. So now it's attached it. I can see that it's telling me Gubrick example up here. This is the one that I've already attached, and I can change it if I want to. And if I scroll beyond all these other data points here, I can actually see where all of the grades are going to go. So ideas, structure, organization, vocab, it just pulled that from the Gubrick to post in here. And this is an easy way to then be able to transfer grades into your gradebook system because it will automatically post them. And also to add up what the scores were. So if one thing you can actually do, if you highlight, so for example, here's one. If I highlight these 5 cells in a spreadsheet, if I go to the bottom corner here, it's going to not only tell me the sum total of those cells that I've highlighted, but I can also open it to see what the average is. So if you want to see what the average score is for organization for your class, well, it looks like we got about a 4. That's something we need to work on. It's kind of a cool thing that you can do just to double check. So here's how this is going to work. I need to go find Jeff's document to start. It doesn't matter whose document I start with. I'm just going to start with Jeff's because it's at the top of the list. I can click the link here. I can also go to my drive and find his document in the assignment folder here. And I think I already have it open actually, so it's right here. Here's Jeff's document. Jeff put his answers in. He's ready for me to edit it. Also, one thing I could have done if I wanted to was turn Jeff off from making any more edits. So see this button here, embargo docs for grading. If I click this, you can no longer edit your document until I say that you can again, and I can turn that on and off. I can toggle it. So embargoing means, all right, you're done. You had to turn it in. You can't touch it anymore, and I'm going to grade it, and then you can touch it after that, which is kind of cool. So going back to Jeff's document, I need to add, and it looks like I don't have it installed right now, so I need to add the Gubrick add-on. Let's go add, or the extension. Sorry, I believe it's an extension now. First one that comes up, Gubrick Web App Launcher. Now I might have already, I did already add it, but it's disabled, so I'm going to enable it really quickly. So if you hadn't added it, you'd have to add the Gubrick Web App Launcher, and I'm going to go ahead and enable mine. Okay, so it's turned on. And I'm going to refresh Jeff's document real quick. What I'm looking for right here, there's that eye popping up. If you can see that little mini eye, the creepy eye in the corner here, that tells me that Gubrick is engaged with this document, and I can use it if I want to. Notice it wasn't showing before because I didn't have Gubrick set up. So when I click this, it's going to open up this document actually in a new window, and it's going to move the document to down to here, and above it, it's going to have my rubric. So notice this is still Jeff's quiz. It's just been kind of shifted down below the top, and this rubric's been pasted in. So now I can look through here. I can say, there's a spelling mistake here. I don't know. I don't actually know if it's a spelling mistake. It probably isn't. I can make my comments. I can read all I want. And instead of having two windows open, one with the rubric, one with the document, my rubric is just on top. So as I'm reading, I can go ahead and say, man, his ideas are brilliant. Roger Goodell is the one who committed the crime. Structure and language, excellent structure. Organization was really poor. Just kidding. Vocab, sentence, punctuation. Notice I'm just clicking on each of these and the score is populating up here. And each time I do it, in the corner, it says saving temporarily for me. In the top corner here, I can add more comments. I can also add voice comments. Really great job. Add voice comments. Really great job. And then I would be able to add it to their document. It also gives me a couple other options here. It says email the scores to Jeff. So I can say, yeah, I want to email it to him as well. And auto advance on submit. So that means when I click this submit button, it's going to email Jeff his scores. It's going to paste the scores in the bottom of this document right down here. It's going to plug all these scores into my spreadsheet. And it's going to open the next document that I have to grade. A lot of things happening all at once. Here we go. Let's see how it works. So notice I didn't go into my drive and pull up Mike's document. I didn't have to find it and double click on it and open and close and keep a rubric open or something. It's just opened up and here's Mike's. So I can go ahead and edit Mike's document, still here, now has a rubric posted on the bottom. Ideas, your score was a 6. Here it is highlighted. Also notice at the top it's telling me rubric rating submitted on this date by this person at this email address. Structure and language, you had a score of a 5. Here it's highlighted. Organization a 2, et cetera, and then my comments on the bottom. This is also where it would paste the audio comments as well. So you can see automatically, oh, here are the scores. I already pasted them for you. You're good to go, which is pretty awesome for them to see. For me, it's nice because now I have in this spreadsheet, as I told you before, here are the scores that I gave them. So ideas were 6, structure was this. You can see this is the crazy language of how he figured it out. All posted here. If I wanted to, I could also be added up to give me an overall score. So I could make a sum variable here of, I don't know what they are, Q2 through Q through Z2 to add up the total score. So he had a 31 points there. That way you can get easy grading as well. And again, back here, I still have the next one open with Mike's. So I can go ahead and grade Mike's. Add my comments, add my voice comments. I'm not going to email him so he doesn't get bothered, but hit submit. And then the next one will open. Jason's asking a good question here. Can a teacher create and share a rubric with others to use via Gubrick? So the library's function is probably the easiest way to do that overall, but generally speaking, what I would do is simply share this very rubric with my teachers. So this Gubrick example, I created this and I share it with myself and my other domains so I can use this whenever I need to. I would share this as view only for other teachers to be able to use. So you can just say view only, send it to Jason, which I don't think I have your email in here, Jason, but send it to Jason, he can see it, and then you'd be able to use the same document. That's how I would personally share it. I think that's the easiest way. And also something that, again, saves a lot of teachers a lot of time and headaches if they know, oh, I already have that rubric and I know what it's named. So hopefully that answers your question, Jason. Follow up if that doesn't. Okay. So again, back here, we're looking at now Mike's scores are here. Again, if I wanted to see what's the sum or the average, we have about a 4.5 here. You can also set this up to do it automatically. Average of a 4 here, average of a 6, et cetera, et cetera. So that to me is a really easy way to share with students their work to quickly grade things in a way that is certainly a lot easier than the way that we normally would grade, with having a lot of things open at the same time and trying to figure out where they are and trying to find things. Having it open automatically for me is a huge help. So I'm going to pause for questions right now. Oops. See if anyone has any questions about Gubrick or about Doctopus, either one. I don't seem to have any questions here. Okay. This is another view, by the way, just so you can see it's another tab. It's basically the same thing and just has the scores here. So nothing too crazy. Okay. So with that, another thing you can do with Doctopus, you notice it says send feedback email. You can just simply enter in grades here if you wanted to, and written feedback. And if I write these into these sections and then hit send feedback email, it will email you guys. So it'll email each person with it. And then the other thing is this transfer ownership to students. When I'm done with this completely, one of the things Andrew set up on purpose was that you can allow students to then be the owners of that document. So instead of saying like, I created the document, you can't take it with you kind of thing, or to when you're leaving school, they have full ownership over it. So you can transfer that ownership to them, and then they have it for good. And that's a great thing if you're using obviously digital portfolios, or if you want your students to be moving on and maintain their work, that they can keep that when they're done. So that's what, again, this is a really fantastic tool. I use this almost every day in my classroom last year. Takes about 5 minutes normally to set it up, and works really efficiently. If Doctopus itself is overwhelming, but you really liked Gubrick, use Classroom. I would use Classroom anyways, because you can use Doctopus with it. If you need more resources on this, I'll share with you what I share with my teachers. This website, renewinspires.org/Doctopus. And I'll paste this in the today's meet. This is literally something I just made for my teachers because I want to put all the resources I can in front of them. /Doctopus. And this includes the walkthroughs, videos, how to do everything. But it also has, do you want to use Google Classroom, Doctopus, and Gubrick all together? So you want the functionality of Classroom to be able to see who's turned in things. You want the functionality of Doctopus to be able to edit while they're working, and Gubrick to be able to give feedback really easily. There's a great video here of how to do that. So this is a page I would keep so you have available for you. Again, here's the Classroom plus Doctopus plus Gubrick, the ultimate workflow. Ollie Trussell's pretty great on, whoops. There he is. Ollie Trussell, he's really great on Google Plus as well, so I'm going to follow. And with that, we're at the last minute here. I'll stay on the today's meet to see if you have any questions, but if you guys could do me a huge favor and go to this link. Oops, let me zoom out a little bit here. This link to be able to give me feedback. That would be super helpful. So that I can know what you thought of this, how it could have been better, and everything else. I really appreciate that. And again, reach out to me on today's meet. You can see my email at the top here to send me an email. People email me all the time saying, wait, I don't know how to do this, or I ran into this problem using Doctopus from sessions years ago. So please reach out anytime you want to. And with that, we are done. So thanks, guys.